Okay, Dr. Tread, I am back. And yes, I had to jump off. I don't have a reception here, anybody. And as you know, when somebody calls your private phone again and again, you better get up and see what's wrong. And I apologize for that. However, I do care about other people. So I can always just re-up on my live stream. This is actually, I want you to know, this is a lot of fun. I've always never been able to communicate. I talk a lot in the office about what I do, and I go over a lot of different topics. But to be able to have the technology today to share this message of hope and healing with so many people at one time, it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. And I appreciate all the live stream and all the stuff that comes with it to allow us to do that. And that's what is great. All right, so let's just fix that. All right, so maybe a little more light so you can see my eyes. Okay, so we're having a listen. If you just tuned in and you're struggling with fat, belly fat, obesity, being overweight, can't fit into your clothing anymore, you're tired, you're run down, you're worn out because you don't feel well, your blood sugar is elevated, maybe you're getting some numbness and tingling in your toes from neuropathy, your borderline metabolic syndrome. Body fat creates a lot of these problems. And to not address the body fat when that most likely is the cause and also will be the cure, getting rid of it, to take drugs, to take medicines, to do all the things that we do to feel better when we're overweight or fat is counterproductive. It just doesn't work as well. And if you have an easy solution that's affordable for most people, we have payment plans, by the way. It's affordable for anybody. I like to say that when somebody says, "Oh, I can't afford it," and I look right at them and I'm like, "Do you drive a car?" Of course. Did you have all the money you needed for the car when you bought it? Most of us don't. A lot of us do, but I financed it. I bought a car that I couldn't come up with the money at once because it was important to me. Why would this be any different? I bought a house I didn't have the money for at the time. I didn't have the lump sum. I had a good job and I could make payments, but didn't have the lump sum. Thus, financing. And we will even finance people at 0% interest when you come in for the spa. Our fee is $2,800. I'll just be really upfront about it. That is comparative to other processes like cool sculpting and lipo lasers and tummy tucks and things like that. It is, 20% of those costs. Average liposuction tummy tuck procedure is going between $8,000 to $15,000. The average cool sculpting process, and you need 2 separate time sessions. You have your first round and then you have a second one, is all the figures I'm getting that people bring into my office is anywhere between $6,000 each session for the sessions. So you get 6,000 to do 4 or 5 sets, 4 or 5 areas, and then you have to repeat that after 2 months again. So you're talking $9,000 to $15,000. And our process is $2,800, and it includes nutritional evaluation. It includes a 3-inch money back guarantee. It includes actually specifically targeting body fat and then releasing those calories into your body's natural mechanism of being able to burn fat. So we're shrinking tissue and getting results, incredible results, without damaging the body fat, without damaging those precious fat cells that seem to be the worst thing you've ever had, but really it's part of your endocrine system. It's part of your immune system. Yeah, I asked a group of nurses. I was doing a talk on body sculpting and weight loss, and I said, "How many people here believe, that body fat, what the purpose of body fat is, And most people will tell you that it's to store extra calories. It might keep you warm. It might be a way of maintaining, your temperature. It cushions the organs. It cushions your joints. Nobody in the whole group mentioned that body fat is an endocrine organ and produces estrogen. Now, estrogen is a female hormone that will take a human, and when you have higher levels of estrogen versus testosterone, you're female. I mean, that's one of the ways what happens. Of course, there's some, genetic changes, but for the most part, ask Bruce Jenner how well all that estrogen did. He turned into Caitlyn Jenner because it makes you softer and makes you look more like a female. And of course, in a female, your ovaries produce the majority of your estrogen. When you're younger and you're able to have children and you're able to, you get near menopause, those ovaries are very active and they produce a lot of estrogen. But what happens is some people will have situations where their ovaries aren't as viable. They're not producing the right amount of hormones, or maybe they had a hysterectomy with removal of the ovaries because of an infections or, cells that were dangerous. So they come in, a lot of people come in without, with hysterectomies, yet they're producing massive amounts of estrogen without ovaries. That's coming from the body fat. So one of the hormones that your body fat produces is a hormone called estradiol, and that would be the precursor to estrogen. So men produce estrogen also. And since we do not have ovaries, okay, we produce testosterone. And when we're younger, we reach puberty, and then we get up into for men, we really don't have any what we would consider menopause or andropause, but we start to produce less testosterone as we get older. It's called test. Everybody's getting their test levels checked. But what happens is the estrogen that a man produces is a very small percentage of the total amount of estrogen. I'm sorry, the total amount of testosterone. So testosterone is very large and estrogen is very small. Now, what happens is as a man starts to get older and they lose testosterone starts to drop down. What happens is estrogen now has a more dominant role. In other words, there's more of a concentration of natural estrogen because man produces it from his body fat. And then what happens is if a man doesn't build up his testosterone by exercising and eating the right foods, he'll become estrogen dominant. And estrogen dominant is male boobs, a big belly, love handles, fat that accumulates around the waist, around the back and around the waist, those big midriffs. And that is a male presentation of hormonal changes as we age. In a female, once a woman reaches puberty, she's producing estrogen and progesterone. And this cycle, the levels of estrogen and progesterone, they change depending on what part of day of your cycle. We have a 28-day cycle, females do, once they reach puberty. And so what happens is at the beginning of the cycle, estrogen is present and the egg is released from the ovary, and it travels down the tube, and then it lodges in the lining of the uterus. And then what happens is if there's no fertilization, conception, 5 days before, 5 days after, progesterone is then released into the tissues, into the system, and that progesterone causes a very rapid decline of the uteral lining in the uterus. Basically, that's what stimulates the period, and it falls out on the ground, basically. And that will happen at right before the end of the 28 days. And so that's when a person is, has blood there. And what happens is at the beginning of the month, this process occurs again and again and again. Estrogen, progesterone, estrogen, progesterone. Now that hormonal balance between estrogen and progesterone in a female is what allows a female to be lean, muscular, and to basically all of us remember, if you're over 50 or 60, I hope you remember that when you were in your teens, right up to your 40s, losing weight and maintaining a good muscle tone was easy. It was a piece of cake. You could you can't eat anything you want or as much as you want, but within reason, you didn't accumulate any outside fat. You burned it off. It seemed to go away. And then what happens is, as we get older and we reach this menopause in females, which means you're not producing you're producing less progesterone is what happens. You're still making estrogen, but really progesterone is much lower than it used to be, because you're not developing any more eggs. They're not coming out of the ovaries. And that will lead to weight gain. That leads to what I call a thickening of the body because of these high estrogen levels. And then it's compounded when you have bad food habits. If you're not eating properly, maybe you've moved into a situation where you're eating too many sweets, too much processed food, too much, you're not able to exercise like you did at one point because you're getting older, and maybe going to the gym is not where you want to be, and it's too lonely to buy one of those Pelotons and pedal your life away sitting in a room. A lot of people don't want to do that. And then what happens is this body fat accumulates over time, and it becomes a juggernaut. It becomes a big, massive problem. And you're stuck. You're at a choice. You're at the byroads. What am I going to do about it? Well, most of you will run right back to eating better and exercising more. And there's nothing wrong with that. I promise you. That's an essential technique and skill that we should have been doing the whole time. But since you waited till you were possibly obese or very much obese, what happens is that outer fat, that stubborn fat that you can squeeze between your fingers, does not, cannot respond the same as when you were younger. Why? Because your hormones have changed. You're estrogen dominant now. It's called menopause, andropause in a man. And I promise you, and I've been doing this for 7 years, man. 7 years? 13 years. Sorry about that. 1,000 sit-ups and 500 calories is not going to correct estrogen swollen, dominated fat cells. And what's very interesting about the distribution of these hormonal changes, it's associated with your endocrine organs, your endocrine glands, and it's different than the fat cells or the subcutaneous that's around your ankle or around your arms or around your chest. Those fat cells do not swell and respond the same to estrogen as the fat cells that surround your waist, your abdomen, and your thighs. So that leads me to something that we all know about. What are the two shapes? You got the apple shape and you got the pear shape, right? You've heard that before. Well, the apple shape is somebody who is basically overeating and not exercising. And as a result of it, their whole body has gotten fat. So they look like an apple. They have, fat cheeks, fat arms, fat stomach, fat legs, fat ankles. It's very evenly distributed. When those people show up in the spa, they need a lot more help with nutrition because that's the main crux of their problem. And we can help them with the red light laser, get those inches off quickly and give them results that they could never get at a gym. However, we're going to go over a lot more food and planning with them because they need it. Now, if you are somebody that comes in and you're shaped like the pear, which most women are, a lot of are, as they get older, this is an endocrine presentation of high estrogen causing the fatty cells to actually swell, not because they've been overeating. Although you can make them fat by overeating, so it's confusing. But on top of the overeating, what's laid inside of it is this estrogen and progesterone ratio, which isn't proper anymore. And it's called menopause, and it happens to everybody. And so now, since it's an estrogen issue, an endocrine presentation, those women will have a fat stomach, fat sides around their waist, and hips and legs, lower, upper legs between their thighs and hips. And that is, 100, 100 sit-ups and 500 calories a day is not going to change that. It can improve your overall health, make your cardiovascular system work better, give you more flexibility, help burn off some of the food you ate, but it does not seem to be very effective at changing that outer fat, which is why people do all these procedures you see out there. These non-invasive, subcutaneous directed treatments. And thus, of all of the processes out there, and I can name them, the most safest, the best at changing your overall wellness, your health, not just removing tissue, cutting it, burning it, freezing it. That's all very dangerous, even though they don't tell you that. There's a lot of people that are super unhappy with those procedures. When they got their fat frozen, it turned into a hard lump. Then they ended up having surgery. And, Cool Sculpting just settled a $50 million lawsuit with the girl who had the hard lumps were left over, Linda Evangelista, who was a supermodel. She went into the Cool Sculpting procedure in her 50s. And as a result of it, the lumps, the hard lumps that the Cool Sculpting machine created, they didn't go away. They became hardened. And I don't mean like a stick of butter. I mean like my countertop here. And she went back and, this is not, she signed a non-disclosure, but before she actually settled, she had told the story on the magazine. I think it was the People magazine. So you don't want that to happen. She had a lot of, and, it ruined her career. She's only in her 50s. A lot of her other people that were models like her are still in their careers, and she lost her career as a result of it. There's so many people that have been hurt by that Cool Sculpting procedure that you just don't know about it because they settle and they have to sign non-disclosure agreements. I'm not here to beat up Cool Sculpting, but it is the number one choice that people think of. Bye-bye bulges, shows the people just relaxing. Boy, that's not been my experience. And then you have liposuction, which has always been the gold standard of removing subcutaneous fat. But that can require anesthesia, being knocked out, general anesthesia. You're unconscious, tube in your mouth, and then they get in there and they take that stick and they suck out the fat. They cut off the skin because that all falls off in a shelf. And you're into garments and compressive bandages to prevent the bleeding and manage the lymphatic drainage. And then you're about a year before you see any changes from that, before you're actually able to function properly. Maybe a little less than that, but it does take about a year. And then you have the hot lasers, which are doing the same thing as the cold machine, the freezing. It's just damaging and destroying the tissue under the skin. And you've got and then you've got these new, wraps and, a lot of other devices, which are simply causing the tissues to be dehydrated. They pull the water out and you look better, just like wrestling, these wraps. That's not what the laser does. That's not what our low-level laser does. Our low-level laser uses the energy to gently pierce through a process called lipolysis without damaging the cell, without damaging that precious fat cell. But when the laser is applied to the fatty tissue, little microscopic pores form around the cell membrane, and the entire contents of that fatty cell is released into the tissue. And 30-minute application, it's 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and 10 minutes. And I think I showed you on the other one before I was interrupted what it looks like, this belt. I love this thing because I can sit here at the computer and I can lose inches. Let me plug it in. There it is. Oh my God. Super bright. See? It's super bright. And you can put this on your tummy. I'll show you. You can put these pads under your tummy and you can stick it on your belly like that. And then you can cover it up with your shirt. It's got a timer on it, which you can't see because it's too low to the camera, but there's a timer. And this will go for 20 minutes. Shuts off. Now remember, you're sitting at the desk. You're not in some spa laying on your back, getting away from work. You can do this driving to work. Absolutely incredible technology. I don't have any of them yet. If you're hoping to get one of these, this is a sample, a demo from a manufacturer that I'm working with out of the UK. His name is Innovative Photonics. And he sent me this because he was on the internet and he's like, you know, Doc, you got to check this out. I see you're very involved in it. You have a lot of influence with people. And he sent this to me as a gift, but we're working on it. And, you know, I think the price point we're going to get for these little, this pad thing is less than $500. Maybe even as low as $300. We're not sure yet. So it's exciting. And the way the red light works is it doesn't damage the tissue. In fact, what it does is it increases the circulation right where that laser is applied, right where that light's applied, and that extra blood supply coming into it. What it does is it opens up the fat cells, and it also releases some of the poisons which are accumulated within fatty tissue. So yes, we do have toxins in our body fat, and those toxins we absorb them from the environment, from the clothing we wear, from the foods we eat, from what's applied to the skin, to the antibiotics, and to the growth hormone that was put in the food we eat, from the poisons that runs into the river, from the poisoning of our wells, from our water wells, from all these chemicals dripping down into the aquifer. These are toxins that you're continually being exposed to, and our body stores them in our fat. Our fatty tissue is where we put them. And that's the safest place to put them, believe it or not. But you can't get rid of them unless you get help. The red light, the whole body vibration, what it does is the red light brings nutrition to the cells. It brings blood supply to those tissues. And then the whole body vibration shakes the whole mess, the calories, the blood supply, and also these toxins are pushed into your bloodstream. And then we have these very simple supplements, which, there we go, one right there. It's called Max Detox. See that? And this is my own brand. It's Dr. Tread's brand. And we've also got, I think this is cheating, but we've also got some fat burner for people that want to help with their appetite. It's not something that I use because I don't have a problem with my appetite, but a lot of you do. And this is Garcinia cambogia. It's green tea extract, and it's raspberry ketone. It's a 3-part blend. And we do have these in the office right now. It's my new brand. And we also have the Dr. Tread's Max Detox in the office right now. And this is my own blend of mainly psyllium powder, which is causes you to help. It produces fiber in your gut. So when you eat food, the fiber is a weight loss and a detox. It helps to pull those toxins out. It's not as effective as using it with the laser, though. I do want to be clear about that. I have something else to introduce to you today. All right. So we got my own brand. Dr. Tread's Whey Protein, vanilla flavored Max Protein. This is a 26-gram protein meal replacement. It is very similar to your Quest products. You ever heard of Quest? And this is why we developed this. I spend thousands and thousands of dollars on Quest. We give everybody that comes into the office that signs up for a plan, they would get a full tub of protein blend. And the only one that people liked was Quest. And we tried it. And so what we did, we were able to find a distributor that will give us a product which was almost identical. I think it tastes better than the Quest because it doesn't have all the additives and ingredients. They put a lot of what they call vitamins, but you know, it's such a small amount. It's for marketing. So this is our vanilla whey protein mix. And we've also got the chocolate. These are now available at the spa. My own brand. And pretty soon they'll be on Amazon. Once I get enough to buy a big order. So, but right now we do have them in the office. If you don't want to go to the grocery store and be stuck with Quest, you can come in and buy this. I don't exactly know the pricing on it. I know that these supplements, the smaller ones here, are like $25 a bottle. And as far as I know, the protein powder is around 45, but please don't quote me on that. But it's about that. Got to talk to the staff on it. All right. Fantastic. So give me 1 second because I have to cycle off of this time frame and then turn the camera back on. Otherwise, it shuts me down. So give me 1 second. That wasn't so bad, huh? Now I got another 30 minutes left. All right. Are you liking what you hear so far? Is it interesting how we're using these lasers to help people to look better, to feel better, to have less body fat, to have a kickstart with their weight loss program? I want you to know that right now, the price for the full program is $2,800, and that's 9 sessions. And we also have some gifts and some extra sessions that you can qualify for. In January, our fee is going up to $3,400 for the same program. We're in season. We get slammed with people from January, February, March, right up through April. However, if you're looking to take advantage of this, our 2023, by the way, we've had the same price since 2012. We've never raised our prices since 2012. It has always been $2,800. And we were just forced to do this. However, if you want to come in, give us a call. You want to purchase a plan, you can prepay for it. We will honor that plan in January and February and March. Okay. Or you can also start right away and get in there before, you can start your plan and then make it through Christmas and New Year's and look better. You could also buy it as a gift for somebody. And what a gift. Could you imagine? Well, you be careful, you guys. You go buying it for your wife and she doesn't think it's a problem and you end up with give her a plan for a lipo plan. She might, slap you, knock you out, and then take it and use it. So be careful. I'm only kidding, but it is something that we will honor that. And here, there's another perk that you should be aware of. We're having a food drive, and we started in October. We donated 140 pounds of canned food by September 15th. We had already had 140 pounds of food. And what we did was if you bring in 5 cans of food, 5 cans, you can get the consult, an exam, a nutritional exam, which is using our body fat analysis machine, recommendations on weight loss if necessary, and a free laser lipo session. That's a $300 session in exchange for 5 cans of food. All right. And I will honor that right up till January 1st. Just after Christmas, New Year's, it's done. We've been extending it for a while, and it's time to wrap it up. And by the way, all the food that we donated went right to the Jensen Beach Christian Church, to their food line. I was there Saturday. Yeah, it's on Saturday. I drove past on Saturday. Listen, you guys, they had over 150 cars lined up from Jensen Beach Christian Church right out to A1A, up the side street, and right out onto the A1A, the cutoff road that goes to the bridge. And let me tell you, it wasn't a bunch of crappy cars. I saw Lexuses in there. I saw Range Rovers. I saw vans, and I saw some pickup trucks and other things. People are suffering, man. They really, really, truly need your help. And there's nothing more important than having food. And that church, those people at that church, I went in and asked some questions. Do you know that they've been doing that food line since before COVID? They've been giving every single Saturday as much food as they can give away for probably like 15 years. I didn't even know this, but it was never in a food line. It was never like in your car. People used to come into, they had a food pantry there. As a result of the COVID, they had to move. They wouldn't allow people come into the church, so they had to give it to them in their cars. And this is where it began, where now they load it into people's cars. And they're doing some work. I mean, I watched them with boxes of fresh produce, cabbage, lettuce, apples, oranges, tomatoes, and and they had some very little dry goods, which I didn't quite know why that was, because usually pantries have a lot of, dry goods, non-perishables, cans and boxes and things like that. But they said that they use money to buy the food. And since they buy it by the pound, to buy canned food is too expensive for them. So that's why I'm doing the canned food drive. And they were so appreciative because, as you would imagine, they have no refrigerator system. They have no way of keeping the produce. Not that I saw. You can't keep massive amounts cold. So they get their produce, Thursday, Friday. I'm sure they have some cool way to keep it cool. And then they give it all away on Saturday. And within, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's really not a lot of food for people. And that's why I just felt it was really important that I use a little influence, try to get some food into there. So anyway, we donated 140 cans. That was September 15th. And now we're amassing more to donate here, close to the holidays. So any support you can give us would be great. I'm on East Ocean Boulevard, right across from the Fresh Market, at the corner of Monterey Road and East Ocean Boulevard. For you people that are just coming into town, you don't really know where it is. It's by the Fresh Market, and my office is next to Carmela's Pizza. And there's a yellow banner on our fence that shows we're having this food drive. You don't have to become a client, but we'd love to have some food to be able to donate to help people. All right. So there's some things about weight loss and what it takes to change habits. And if I could magically come to you like a fairy and come in and you're been beat up by the weight loss systems, you haven't found the motivation to change your habits, you like your alcohol and maybe it's a little too much, maybe your exercise, maybe you can't or you don't want to, or when you do you feel embarrassed. Maybe you're an introvert, you're someone who stays inside a lot and likes to read and doesn't like to leave their house. What does it take to make a change? What does somebody need to bust a move, as I like to say, to actually care enough to take care of yourself? We all have people in our lives that we love and we admire, and you see them doing things that is going to end badly, right? I don't want to say everybody cigarette smoking dies of cancer, but if you got somebody that's smoking a lot, you can't help but look at them and just pray for them and say, God, I hope they get over this. And then, it's what people, it's hard. And maybe they're overeating all the time. Maybe they're eating too many sweets and they got diabetes. And it, they've been to the doctor, they're on meds, and they're eating ice cream. Like, oh my God, what's going on? And you mentioned it and they get angry. Don't tell me. I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone. And so I like to go over a little bit. This is something that I had written many years ago called Permanent Weight Loss Solutions. And this is a little things about helping people to make changes with habits. Now, I'm going to preface this because this is a little lengthy, but I'll tell you what the most important thing you can do to help somebody make some changes. That is to be the example for them. Especially if you're in a position of authority, you're a mom, you're a dad, you have teenagers, you have children, maybe you're a boss, and you have a position where people are going to look, they want you to like them, and people want to be liked by each other, and they don't want you to be disappointed in them. However, they're looking at you, man. They're looking at what you do, how you live your life, what you do. I've been involved in addiction treatment for a long time, and I've helped people through addiction. And one of the things that's always amazing is you get a mom and a dad or a family council, and the mom and dad are drinking. However, for them, it's not a problem. They're not crashing cars, they're not stealing from each other. They're getting up for work, and then they come home and they have a couple cocktails. Maybe more than a couple, but they're functioning pretty good. And then the teenager or the nephew or the kid that even the 20 or 30-year-old comes in, and they're using it too much, and they're having problems, and they're crashing cars, and they're getting arrested. And it's obvious there's something wrong with the way they use the same drug. And you bring in the family, and you're like, he's got to stop. He's got to do this. And the kid he's doing what you did when you were younger. He might have a different genetic makeup that makes him more vulnerable to it, or more stress. It's hard being a kid nowadays. They have a lot more stress than we had. I mean, our biggest fear in the 60s and 70s was going to war, Vietnam or something. They have so many more stressors, it's not even funny. However, they still will use you as an example. And it amazes me how many parents refuse to stop their alcohol intake and expect the family members to do it. And they'll even get to the point where they get angry, like, why should I have to? That's his problem. Well, okay, but it'd be a big help if you would. Same thing with losing weight, being overweight. You see obese parents, they have an 80% chance of having an obese child. 2 obese parents have an 80% chance of having children that are obese. Now, here's something else. It's a shocking statistic. If you're obese as a kid and you grow up, into your teenhood being obese, you are 80% more likely to die being obese than if you're thin when you're younger. In other words, it's not okay. You see them, and you see them putting on weight, and you're hoping, well, they're going to make the change eventually, and you try to help them, even if you're not obese. A lot of parents are not obese, and they have an obese child because of the food. And you got to nip that in the bud, man, quickly, because if it's called obesogenes, those obesogenes stay with children, and as they go through their life, if they don't get that off, you're going to have an 80% chance of your child dying from obesity. So it all begins and ends with you. So here's some thoughts about weight loss and what it takes to change habits and maintain those habits for the rest of your lives. So here's the number one. We have to have a purpose greater than ourselves. A purpose greater than yourself. It's not all about you. I might be the beginning and the end, but it's not all about me. So you have to have a purpose. This is not the same as a goal. A purpose and a goal are not the same. A purpose in this context is a defined reason to exist that's bigger than yourself. To be there for your family, to create a work situation which interests you and will carry you into the future for success and retirement, to be an example for your friends, coworkers, and family, to want to make a difference in the world by being that example for others. That's a purpose. A goal, I want to make money. I want to lose weight. I want a new car. I want to increase my business. Those are goals. That's not the same as a purpose. Your purpose might also be freedom from medical tyranny, freedom from the revolving door of the sweet foods, the Pop-Tarts, the cereals as a kid, into the luncheons, which are all processed food at school, and then into the supermarkets where they're marketed to children and to people with the processed foods. That's why they're at the counter when you leave. And that revolving door ends up going into the doctor's offices, being put on meds, the depression, the lethargy that comes with it, going into now you need medicine because you're not healthy. And it was all began in those formative years. And now you got to worry about the cost of insulin because you're metabolic syndrome and you got diabetes. Or maybe you have other issues, cognitive problems, learning problems. Maybe you've developed the spectrum. You're on the spectrum and they don't know where that comes from, but I can tell you toxins have a lot to do with it. That's medical tyranny. You got no choice. And your purpose for your family to be healthy is to help them to avoid medical tyranny, to not allow your body to become sick, to become weak and vulnerable. When we allow ourselves to be sick, weak, and vulnerable, we become a slave to our body and thus a slave to disease, infections, viruses, medicine, drugs, invasive procedures, knowing they could have been prevented with simple lifestyle changes. I used to have a poster in my office, and it had a picture of a man carrying sticks on his back. I think it was from the Led Zeppelin cover. It said, "If I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself." Now, when someone has a purpose, a reason bigger than themselves, it then becomes quite easy to make and change those bad habits that might impede their purpose. So bad habits might get between you and your purpose. And when that becomes a problem, you'll get rid of those bad habits. Trust me, it'll be easy. Without a greater purpose, it is difficult to want to make changes in your own personal life. Yeah, this resonates with me. I wrote this, probably 10 years ago. Without a greater purpose, you will lose the desire to change, even when it's just about you. Just leave me alone. I'm fine. I'll die. I don't care. You'll hear him say that. Just leave me alone. But remember, everybody in your life, we're like going through the water with a boat, and the waves that come off the boat affect everything around you. And you're not an island. You're in a sea of energy, and your energy either attracts or repels those around you, and they affect everybody and everything. So just because you go off into the room and say, "I'll just do what I want and the heck with the world," you're affecting the world. But maybe that's a little heavy. So without a higher purpose, we are selfish and self-centered to the core. Our selfish nature is all about us. What I want, how quickly can I get it? What makes me happy? What makes me angry? What can I get from you? You're taking this from me, etc., etc. We become protective. We become insecure and greedy. This leads to criticism, self-righteousness, anger, and jealousy. This all about me attitude is what leads to a lot of bad habits. Habits like self-pleasure, self-grandiosity, self-seeking, overeating, overindulging in alcohol, the use of recreational drugs, unusual physical and mental thoughts, and behaviors like pornographic, sex addiction, theft, violence against others, and many other negative traits or habits. These are people that do not have a higher purpose. Remember that. If left uncorrected, these self-interested behaviors lead to many health problems, many social problems, spiritual sickness, and legal problems, right? Since somebody's got to intervene, your selfish, grandiose behavior, the police will get involved. Such legal problems such as drug addiction, jails, institutions, hospitals, and death. by not exercising, by eating dead and devitalized foods, processed foods, because you're overeating, not being able to stop sweets, or being addicted to sodas and energy drinks. We continue to become sicker and sicker and sicker. We can actually feel like we would rather be dead than go on with this horrible life. When we have a bigger purpose or something to look forward to, something we wish to acquire for the betterment of others, we find it much easier to develop our own habits that support us, because we really want to support other people. And our goals become less self-seeking, less all about me. And our new thought is, how can I be helpful? I work with a lot of people in addiction. And, as someone who is more like the counselor and overcome addiction, I get these phone calls. Such and such happened. And, I'm upset about this. And, she did this, and my kid didn't do that. And my dog pooped in the, on the couch, and you're on. And they're having, most people have problems with other people, by the way. Rarely do they have problems with themselves. It's always somebody else. And you know what I always said? First off, pray, meaning meditate, think of what your part is. However, all I tell them is, why don't you ask, how can I be helpful? Right? You're in a fight with your wife. This is going on. And just stop for a second and just say, honey, I just want to know, how can I be helpful? Tell me what I can do to be helpful. It works really well, by the way, instead of telling them what to do. So because of a greater purpose, we will naturally become more willing to change our bad behaviors to serve other people, or to serve the goal or our greater purpose. So eating better, exercising more, not smoking, staying away from excessive alcohol, not isolating becomes easy, since we now want to be part of life again because of our new, better purpose. It is hard to change your habits if you have no purpose. But when you realize that we are all connected as one in this universe, that if you improve your health and improve your life, you will be improving others' health and others' lives by your example. When you show you can achieve success in your own health, you can show and prove it, which is the most important asset we have. Let me repeat that. When you can achieve success in your own health, which is the most important asset you have, quit spending so much money on your cars, your boats, your house, your guns, whatever it is, and put some energy and time into your health. It's the most important thing you got. Others will see that in you, and they will want to emulate you, what you've done. And this brings the respect and admiration we all seek. Others will begin to look up to you, sometimes for advice, like they do with me, but more often than not, just as an example of how they should or could live if they really wanted to. We learn by example. You're not alone. I've been there. I've done it. Look at where I am today. How can I be helpful? That's pretty simple, right? But you better have the goods to show them. Don't come in and be sitting in your, hiding in the back, drinking, and then coming out, and you don't think the kids know. I took a friend of mine to my hunting lease with me, and I've known him a long time. I hadn't seen him, as he's gotten older, and he's a bit, he likes to drink. He likes to drink alcohol. I'm okay with that. It's just just don't do it all the time. But he brought his son with him. His son was about 13. And so all of a sudden he'd be gone. We had a trailer and had a nice setup. I had the hunting buggy, and we're going through some of the decoys and some of the feeders and stuff. And he kept disappearing, right? And then he would come back with a big tall cup, like one of these Yeti cups. And he actually thought his kid thought it was soda. I was like, you're drinking in front of your son. Oh, no, he doesn't know what I'm drinking. I said, are you kidding me? I said, he's like 13 years old. He doesn't think, none of why dad's always gone, and you come back and then you change, and you don't think you can smell it, it was amazing that he didn't see that. But anyway, my opinion is having a greater purpose in your life is probably the most important first step that has to be taken, because without the greater purpose, other decisions that have to be made concerning food, exercise, and cleanliness will seem like chores again. They'll seem like a drag. They become a burden, and we don't want to do them for very long since nobody likes chores. When your purpose is higher than yourself, such as being an example to other people, children, a better boss, a better contributor to society, then those changes to get you to feel that way become empowering. They empower you. And you want to make those changes and stick to those changes because of the obvious benefits. All right. I think I needed to read that today. I wrote that paper. And you know, sometimes when I read some of the stuff I've done 5-10 years ago, it just amazes me how smart I was to see that. But you know, I've been sober for 20 plus years, and you know, made a lot of changes in my life, and it was all because I found a higher purpose. I found a greater purpose. I want to be there for my patients, for my family, for my friends, and I didn't feel that I was doing that. And thus, it became very easy to make those changes. I still maintain that today. All right, I'm going to wrap this up, but I want to implore upon you, and I'm going to ask you one more time. We're having this food drive. You can donate 5 cans of food at the spa, and as a result of that, you can get a free consultation, a free evaluation, and you can get a free laser lipo session, which is a $300 value at no obligation, because we want to show you the technology. And of course, I'm going to educate you because I'm paying you for this visit. You know, you're coming in, and it costs me to give you a laser visit. And I expect you to pay attention to what I do. And even if you choose not to do it, at least you're going to know what I do, how to recommend it. You can speak from a position of authority, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find a greater purpose than yourself, because a lot can benefit from what we do, but they don't know about it, and they need to hear it from somebody else. All right. My name is Dr. Tread Rissacker. I'm a licensed chiropractic physician in the state of Florida and in the great state of New York. My dad practiced chiropractic for 50 years before I even got out of college. So he was an old timer. My brother, Dr. Todd Rissacker, practices in Jensen Beach at a Better Life Chiropractic. My sister, Dr. Caroline Rissacker, practices with him. They share office space. I have another incredible sister, Christine Rissacker Widener. You know, her husband's name is Widener, but she kept her name with our name. And she's a chiropractor, and she practices over in Harbor Medical, which is the new facility that Dr. Widener has opened up right across from the Circle K, which I don't think is the Circle K anymore, but it's right there just on East Ocean Boulevard, right by the Fear Eye Surgery, and again, by that quick convenience store. It's called Harbor Medical. And, you know, you got nothing to lose here. You got a lot of different help. If you come into the spa, I will lead you and help you by the hand and be that example that you're looking for. All right. You see the phone number, 772-223-5885. And you know what? And I know you noticed something. See that? This is the longest I have ever allowed facial hair to grow on my face. Last week, I had a little trip to the hospital, and I was there for 5 days. It was all okay. It was not a life threat. It could have been if I didn't go, but I had an infection in my foot, and I needed to get on some antibiotics. And it was much better and safer to do it in the hospital than it would have been to try to take them through the mouth. And I agreed. And so I went in, and I grew this beard, and I kind of like it. It kind of makes me look like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, not really. So we'll see how long it lasts. I don't know if my wife likes it or not. Okay. Thank you so much. Namaste. God bless. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. Pray for the world to stop the killing. Just pray. Stop the killing. We need each other. We're not overpopulated. We don't have too many people. Within each and every one of those people, I see a future, a solution. They might be the one with the solution. I love people. I love older people. I love young people. I love children. I love, black, white. It doesn't matter. I believe our future is in having more people to solve these problems, not less. I'll leave it with that. God bless.